they're obviously in a bad spot. And again, we're going to do a whole offseason preview on Milwaukee. Do you think this was Giannis's last game in Milwaukee?
I do.
I've thought more about it. I think they're going to do everything that they can to stop this from happening. I think they're going to try and make deals. I think they're going to try and like really, really do this because like, here's the thing about Giannis. I feel like we don't know a ton. He's never been put in this position where he has to pick Milwaukee, the organization where he has embraced, a city that he is like genuinely embraced, and a city that has embraced him. And for a kid that comes from his background, getting to Milwaukee at 19 years old, 18 years old, to have a city embrace him in the way that it did, I think it will be very difficult for him to say goodbye to that. But also, he is a wild competitor as well. Like that's what we know about Giannis more than anything is like this dude really wants to contend. He really wants to compete. He wants to win championships. We've never had that like kind of push pull yet with him to where we know what's going to happen moving forward. He has 2 years left plus player option on his contract. So like there's no time pressure here unless Giannis like puts it on them. You know what I mean?
If I was Giannis, this is what I would do. And I think as a star and a top 5, top 3 player in this league, he has it's within his right to do this. I would walk into the Bucks front office and I would say, I want to see the plan. I would like to see the plan for us to compete over the next year, next 2 years, next 3 years. And if Horst and company are able to put something together that says, we think we can do this trade to do this and this trade to do this, and we can free up space here to do this. And it's something, not that you like hold their feet to the fire, but like, okay, if Giannis says I can see that vision, then I could see him staying. If they're not able to put that together and be creative in a way to build out a real contender, I would at least understand why Giannis would say, okay, guys, I would really like us to work together to find me someplace else. That is, and it's going to be beneficial to Milwaukee because he's going to get a ton in return, whether it's picks or young players or something like that.
Yeah, but we went through this last time, and the real issue is that they don't have any of their picks until 2031, which means like, so there are multiple avenues here. So the first one is they try to keep Giannis, and I have like a sicko trade to bring up. So this is gross and sad, and I'm sorry about this. Do you think there's a world where the Phoenix Suns, trying to get off of Bradley Beal, would say, we will do Brad straight up for Damian Lillard? No picks, no anything. We will do Brad for Damian Lillard. Because the Suns like aren't going to be able to move the Beal deal without giving up picks unless it's like a situation like this. In Milwaukee, to keep Giannis, probably needs to do something like this. They have to find a way to probably move Lillard at this point, and then find a way to probably like bring in more talent. That was one I thought of. I was like, okay, is there a world where we can swing this?
You ruined my day when you sent this in the text. So the idea here is the Bucks get Bradley Beal, who is extremely overpaid, but still can be productive in this league. And then the Suns get, obviously are going to be without Dame for a year, but then get a better player theoretically coming back from the Achilles for at least 1 year. I wonder how Phoenix would feel about this in the immediate, though. Like, what does that mean for Phoenix next year? Are they trading Durant this offseason still in this scenario? And it's like maybe a 1 year reset anyway. And so it's okay. Yes. We get off Bradley Beal, but then, hey, like we got Dame coming back the year after that, him and Booker, plus whatever else we can put around from the Durant deal and et cetera. I don't like this. I also, the GMAC brought up something interesting too. Like, would Bradley Beal accept this?
That's the big question. Bradley Beal obviously has a no trade clause. We don't know. My theory on why I think he might consider it is saving the Giannis era in Milwaukee is probably his route toward another big contract if he's going to get one, right?
Sure.
Like if he stays status quo in Phoenix, he's not getting another big deal. Like we should feel pretty good about that, right? But if he goes and like saves the Milwaukee, like saves the Giannis era in Milwaukee, I don't know, man. Like you could look up and he gets like $35 to $40 million a year at the end of that, right?
Because but
he'd have to perform. He'd have to perform. And here's the thing: like Bradley Beal this year, averaged 17 points a game, 4 assists. He shot 49.7% from the field, 38.6% from three, 80% from the line. Like was the third option, but was like pretty good offensively. And I thought he played like more aggressively on defense than what we've seen previously. I don't want to sit here and call Bradley Beal a good defender because he's not, but like, I think that he is capable of ramping back up into being like a 22, 23 point per game scorer on like not terrible efficiency.
So that's what I'd have to convince myself of, is that Bradley Beal was way overpaid in Phoenix because it didn't make sense with Devin Booker in the backcourt and Kevin Durant. And it's just too much of all of that other stuff. And that in Milwaukee, when it's kind of like him and Giannis, and it's like this 2-man combination that doesn't necessarily operate the same way in all of the same spaces and all of that, you can maximize whatever is left of Bradley Beal. I would have to think more on and convince more on and convince myself that I believed in that for me to really consider this. I love stuff like this. Like I think it's really interesting because my initial thought is no. Like I love trades that I'm like, no way. And then when you think about it, you're like, oh, maybe this is interesting from both sides.
And Lillard might be a better fit with Booker than Beal is moving forward. They have the same number of years on their deal left. Like,
and especially for Dame, like coming off this Achilles, he may turn into like more of an off the ball catch and shoot off. Like who knows like what his player type is, coming off of this injury at his age. So,
Dirty Dancer asks, what's the reason for Phoenix to do it? I mean, I don't think they're getting off the Bradley Beal deal because of A, he might not accept it somewhere else, and B, without giving up picks. Like if you can do this without giving up picks, I don't know. That seems not crazy to me, in all honesty.
Yeah, like I said,
and look, like to be clear, I'm not saying that this is like an answer for the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm just saying that if they are trying to keep Giannis, correct. This might be doing this and then like going out and finding a deal for Kuzma and going out and finding like another deal, right? Like that might be the route in some way, shape, or form in order to keep Giannis if they want to keep him, right? Which it's Giannis. I would imagine that will be their first goal. Is to try and keep him. Now, like, do I think they will be successful? And do I think Giannis will look at this idea as like, oh my God, let's do this, right? Like, let's Bradley Beal, I'm in, right? I don't know. Like he might not. He might think that it's not good enough. And he might say that he wants out. And, the teams that people will bring up, I think people will bring up Oklahoma City. I don't see Oklahoma City doing this, in all honesty. It would probably have to involve Jalen Williams, I would imagine. And the difference in contract there is just vast, right?
Yep.
It's an enormous amount of money.
I might change my answer here in 2 weeks if the Thunder get knocked off by the Nuggets or Clippers. But as it stands right now, I would say no. Yeah.
Second team here would be the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
And like you could do Şengün and stuff, right? The third team that people will point to is San Antonio with like Steph Castle and stuff, maybe to pair him with Wemby. Sure. Like sounds interesting to me. I'm trying to think, like Orlando is a team I've seen.
Does Miami have the assets to even get involved?
I think they will certainly try. I just don't know what it is unless Milwaukee really wants to continue contending and just like loves Bam and is willing to do like a Kawhi Leonard like Bam deal with Toronto. But the difference is that, Toronto had all of its picks moving forward and could kind of pivot off of everything else. So I don't see that as like a really great, or they had most of their picks. They weren't out like 6 years worth of picks. I'm trying to think of like anything like any other teams. I mean, Memphis, I'm sure will try, they have all their picks, but to me, like it has to involve you getting like an all-star plus picks back, which is why, like, I don't think Oklahoma City, this just doesn't feel Oklahoma City to me, in all honesty. I think that Houston remains the one that, like, I think this is what Houston has been waiting for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Houston's been waiting for a guy like this to come free and for them to be able to take a shot on this. And, you could do Şengün and, whatever else, basically. Like to me, it has to involve Şengün if I'm Houston, because I don't think Şengün and Giannis work together, like in any way, shape, or form. So I'm saying like part of the value equation here is definitely Şengün. And that's not disrespect to Şengün. I think, we'll talk about that series in a second here real quick, but he has played outside of the finishing like fairly well, I think, and shown himself well in this series.
Yeah.
But, it's Giannis, right? Like all due respect to Alperin, but it's Giannis, right?
Yep.
The other thing to consider here with Milwaukee is, can they get enough assets? And again, we're going to go through this all again when we do their offseason preview. So like, this will be the last thing I say. Can you get assets that New Orleans and the Trailblazers like, that will allow you to reacquire your picks? Is there a chance that Portland really likes Amen Thompson? And would you be willing to do like Amen Thompson for, all three of your picks back or something like that, plus other stuff from Portland? Like, is that a better value equation for you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on which way they want to go in terms of what they can. I just think there's different paths, right? Like you acquire real NBA players, you can go that path. You could acquire young talent and like say, okay, well, these are the quote unquote draft picks, so we'll just work with that. Or do you want to like completely break it down, trade off everything, Brooklyn Nets style, but you can't trade Mikal Bridges until you have your picks back from a different trade, right? And so I think it just depends on that path. If I wouldn't hate that path for them, but to your point, if you're going to trade Giannis and Kuzma, like you're going to get rid of all of it, you got to go to Portland first and figure out how can we get these picks back? Who do you want? What do you want? What do we have to go get to make that happen? So I think there's a few different ways that they can go with it. I'm not sure which one I would choose off the top of my head, but man, it'll be fascinating. Seems like there's always this stuff like people say it happens fast, right? I mean, Dame goes down, and again, like that's what sucks is this is the driving force of this conversation being so strong right now. But we go from Dame goes down to immediately, and I think rightfully so. What does this mean long term for Giannis? And these are the discussions we're going to have all off season. Yeah.
And I do just want to be like very clear with people. Like there is no number 2 option that is like off of the table here. There is like for Giannis, like there's just not going to be many guys that are off of the table in a trade. Like Wemby is one of them. Honestly, like I think I would be surprised if a team would move Cooper Flag for Giannis, given that Giannis is 30 and Cooper is 19 and you have him for 9 years. So you're moving forward. But like, I think I am the biggest Amen Thompson fan that you will find in like the national media. I had him freaking defensive player of the year this year. I thought he was their best player from like the time he entered the starting lineup onward. Amen Thompson is not off the table for Giannis, just point blank. If you're Houston, that's the reality. And it sucks. You don't want to move these guys, but Giannis is a truly, truly special talent. And unless you've made an all NBA team or, I think that Orlando would consider things on Paulo. Like, I think that they would stop and look and they'd try and do Franz first. Like, I don't know. I think Orlando probably wouldn't do Paulo, but I'm not certain of that.
It's crazy, right? I mean, just the value is really interesting. And what's weird is we just had a superstar get traded, and we can't even use that as a precedent because I don't think that anybody thinks that's the way it should have looked, And so the idea of Giannis on the move and what it would actually take to acquire him, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, right? It's crazy. So
the closest parallel that came to my mind, if this is true, and again, this is now where we will actually finish, is I think it'd be closest to the Kevin Garnett deal. And I think prices have gone up since then. So it'd be more than what the Timberwolves got for Garnett. But that's what this reminds me of most, I guess. A guy who was in Minnesota forever and was so attached to that city, and eventually they just got to the point where they couldn't compete and he had to ask out, and that was the reality.
I mean, we're bringing GMAC on in a little bit. We should just ask him if Mikal Bridges is worth 5 first-round picks, what does that mean Giannis is worth?
Yeah, I think that's not even just an applicable amount of money or asset value at a certain point. Yeah, I just, people in the comments keep bringing up Oklahoma City. Look, if they want to do it, they can do it. I'm just going to be honest and say that I don't see this as look, maybe they lose early and
that's what I'm going to say.
Something changes, but it just doesn't feel like their organization.
And my thing is I don't know. Maybe I think that the Thunder are better than other people think. I think they have a real chance to win the title this year. They may not. They may lose next round. If they go win the title, I don't know why then they would trade for Giannis whenever they have all of these dudes under contract and they're younger and they're going to grow and they have all of these picks and everything. They have the most flexibility you could really want. Eventually the money stuff will start catching up because these guys will have to get paid, but it just, I guess I would like to see how this playoffs plays out for the Thunder before I consider them as one of the first teams I think of in this scenario.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, GMAC. I'm kicking a horse when it's down. I apologize.